My name is Emily, and I am 26 years old. Until recently, my husband Mark and I had a very ordinary life. It consisted of housework, quiet evenings, and weekends at the cottage. I can't say I was unhappy, but there were times when my mind wandered. I imagined what life could be like outside of the usual routine, saw something exciting, forbidden, or completely different. These were not just empty daydreams, but vivid scenarios that seemed so real they scared me. It was as if another version of me, more daring and impulsive, was trying to break free. These thoughts filled me with equal parts excitement and anxiety, making me question what I really wanted. I work in a large office in sales. Our team is lively and energetic, made up of mostly men, 12 guys and only 4 women, including me. We have a tradition of having lunches together, celebrating birthdays and marking special occasions together. On International Women's Day, the guys outdid themselves. It wasn't just a celebration in the office, they tried to make it special. Welcome to a healthy life. They invited all the women from. The idea of breaking out of the routine and spending a day in such a beautiful setting seemed like a rare treat. The effort they put into organizing this event made it extraordinary, and I couldn't help but get excited. Initially, I hadn't even considered going. My husband is a jealous man, and I was anticipating the inevitable questions. What cottage? What men? However, the girls at work were persuasive, and the vacation itself sounded intriguing. After much persuasion, Mark reluctantly agreed, but only on the condition that he would pick me up at 23 sharp. His conditions didn't bother me. I was just excited about the opportunity to be on the holiday, so much so that I even bought a new dress for the occasion. A tight black one in which I felt confident and beautiful. So you did. When the day arrived and we got to the cottage, I quickly realized that this was going to be a unique evening. There were 12 men in attendance and only 3 women. Karen, one of the other women, was ill and unable to join us. Despite the skewed numbers, the evening started off beautifully. The men handed out flowers, poured champagne, and gave small gifts. Outside, kebabs were being cooked on the barbecue, and inside the dinner table was set with great care. The atmosphere was festive, warm, and disposing. After the third toast, the music started playing and the champagne began to loosen everyone up. I found myself dancing with almost everyone. It was as if I saw my colleagues in a new light. Their charm and charisma shone through in a way I hadn't noticed before. One man in particular stood out to me, Adam from the neighboring department. He was tall and athletic, someone I hardly paid attention to at work. But in this setting, it was like I was seeing him for the first time. He danced with casual grace and held me close in a way that made me feel warm. Gradually, the evening began to wind down. Some people had already left, and others stayed outside by the barbecue. Adam and I stayed on the dance floor. At one point, he leaned over to me and whispered, "Come on, I'll show you the house." I knew I shouldn't go, but something about that moment, or perhaps my own curiosity, made me follow him. He led me upstairs to the second floor where the bedrooms were located. With a strength and confidence that took my breath away, he picked me up in his arms and carried me into one of the rooms. What happened next was unlike anything I had ever experienced with my husband. It was wild, passionate, and uninhibited, breaking every boundary I thought I had. The air in the room seemed charged with a heady mixture of arousal and danger, and every touch of Adam's hands on my skin felt electric. He whispered tender words to me that sent shivers down my spine, and something deep inside me flared up. A part of me I hadn't realized was longing to be seen. The scent of his cologne wafted nearby, intoxicating, and his voice was low and sounded both intimate and dangerously seductive. Time seemed to blur, and every moment felt like a plunge into a dream I didn't want to end. And it was only when I glanced at my phone that reality returned. There were 3 missed calls from Mark staring back at me. It was already 11 p.m., and he was waiting for me downstairs. I tried to tidy up, smoothing my dress and fixing my hair. As I walked down the stairs, I was relieved to see that Mark hadn't noticed anything wrong. He'd blamed my disheveled appearance on the champagne. I felt a pang of guilt, but quickly pushed it aside as we drove home in silence. The days that followed passed in a whirlwind of emotions. At work, Adam and I acted as if nothing had happened. We greeted each other with professional courtesy and discussed routine work matters. But every once in a while, I'd catch his gaze, a gaze that burned with memories of that night. It made my heart sink and my stomach churn. Mark continued to work without noticing, as if nothing had changed. But it was different for me. I lay awake at night, replaying that night over and over in my head. The worst part wasn't the lack of guilt, but the gnawing fear that it could happen again, because I knew in my heart that if Adam called me, I would come to him without hesitation, no matter the consequences. They say you can't escape your fate, and maybe it's true. Sometimes the wildest fantasies take on a life of their own, breaking free from the confines of our imagination and becoming reality. And when that happens, it's almost impossible to stop, and yet I can't escape the realization that every action has a price. The question is, how high will that price be, and am I willing to pay it?